The Olympic Games are coming to London, a city that for all its faults can claim to be more open, multicultural and free-spirited than many world capitals. 4 years ago, the Games in Beijing may have helped the world to learn more about China, as the International Olympic Committee President Jacques Rogge said at the 2008 closing ceremony. But after the controversy of demonstrators disrupting the Olympic torch relay in Europe, protesting China's human rights record, the IOC was probably glad to turn its back on the 2008 Games and look ahead to a less troubled event in London. But will London really escape controversy and be free of protests? From a human rights perspective, the preoccupation has been about Saudi Arabia's refusal to allow women in its Olympic team. But the real focus of attention is not on competing nations, but on specific Olympic sponsors and their environmental record. The campaigners Greenwash Gold have confronted Lord Coe, the London 2012 chairman, about the sponsors Dow Chemical. Dow argues it bought the company several years after the disaster and cannot be said to be associated with the tragedy. But campaigners see it differently.
I think there have been protest movements at other sporting events in the past as well, but Dow Chemical is such an iconic case. It's probably the worst abuse of human rights by a company in my generation. And to associate itself not just with any sporting event, but with the Olympics, which has the largest audience in the world and was set up to promote peace, to promote our common humanity. Personally, I find something just deeply offensive about that combination.
Dow declined to be interviewed on camera. The question is why environmental campaigners are coalescing around the London Olympics. After all, sponsors have been part of the financial framework of the Olympic Games for several years. So what is bringing this concerted anti-sponsorship campaign to fruition now?
It's a huge spectacle, and it's paid for in large part by sponsors. And what the sponsors essentially are buying is a very, very prestigious television show called the Olympic Games. And that television show has a massive audience. And the last thing that the sponsors and the organizers want is any form of protest which happens to crop up on television.
These protests might easily be brushed aside by organisers and the sponsors themselves, were it not for the nagging concern that in London's free and open streets, some protesters might choose to take radical action and disrupt Olympic events. London had a taste of what this might look like in April, when a protester swam into the River Thames in the middle of the Oxford and Cambridge boat race, causing major disruption to one of London's most ancient sporting traditions. The UK's torch relay will be carefully policed to prevent such disturbance. But there is some evidence that the Occupy movement, which has staged high-profile anti-capitalist demonstrations in New York and London, is planning on causing disruption to the Games themselves.
Well, there are a number of groups who are talking about protesting, but what we're saying to anybody is we accept it is your right to protest. Again, as I say, it's a conditional right. Please come and speak to us about it so that we can make sure you get your chance to protest. But equally, people who want to watch the Games, people who want to compete in the Games can go ahead and do that.
The UK government is spending £1 billion on security, more than was budgeted for, to protect the London Olympics, because the overriding concern is to prevent an act of terrorism this summer. But lone protesters, whether they are environmental campaigners or anti-capitalists, may be giving the security forces other problems to deal with. Roger Blitz, Financial Times, London.